And good morning. Welcome to the Bravo Times Sports right here on the Community Radio Network. Trey, Snide, Mr. Jordan Crane once more. Good morning, my friend. How are we today?
Good morning. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. You know, it's been another terrific year so far. Here on the Bravo Times Sports, we kind of discuss all things Atlanta Braves. Today we're gonna a little round table discussion, like I mentioned to you a little bit, Mr. Jordan. A little bit of everything. You know, have offense, defense, pitching. You know, signings, whatever. We're going to get into a little bit of everything, so I'm looking forward to it. Welcome back to the Bravo Times Sports. It's been, like I mentioned before, it's been a terrific season so far. We've seen the Braves increase their lead up to right now 5.5 games. So it's been a fun ride for sure. For the first question I want to ask you, Jordan, kind of talk to us about how you believe the first half of the season, as we get into the All-Star break, how it's kind of played out for you.
I think it's played out very well just because of all the inconsistency we've experienced with the pitching staff. You know, at the start of the year, the pitching staff was struggling as far as the bullpen is concerned. The starting staff is who was keeping us in games, and we were begging Brian Snitker to keep the starting staff in longer. And then over this last month, it's been just the opposite. It's been the bullpen that's been carrying us a little bit. As far as the pitching staff is concerned, the offense is a whole other animal in of itself lately. But I'm very impressed with how this team has overcome some of the inconsistencies that we've experienced throughout this season with the pitching. Josh Donaldson getting off to a slow start, and then Johan Camargo not really relishing in his super utility role that well, and then Ender Inciarte and his struggles, and then of course Austin Riley making the big splash, and Ronald Acuna and Freddie Freeman doing their thing, and Mike Soroka, the three All-Stars. So far I've been very pleased. It's a little I'm still processing in a way that they are the second best team record-wise in the National League, second to the Dodgers. So I think that this series that starts tonight, Dallas Keuchel getting the ball on the bump, I think that it is a huge series for the rest of the season. I think we'll learn a lot.
Well, look at the acquisitions we've kind of gained since the beginning of the season. I mean, Jerry Blevins has been fantastic. Anthony Swarzak has been one of our best relief pitchers after being just released and traded by two different teams before us. I mean, so he's been fantastic. And we'll get into what happened the other night with good old Mr. A.J. Minter. And it's one of those, again, Dallas Keuchel is kind of getting his feet wet. We saw the first game kind of go, kind of get you thinking about, well, was this a good idea? But then you have to realize, like I had a conversation with my brother when after the second game that he allowed 3 runs. I said, look, just think about it. Where all off season, he didn't have an off season, he didn't have a spring training. All it was a simulated games, and so that real time games and simulated games are completely different things. But what we like about Dallas, or what I like about Dallas, and I told him, was, he's going to continue getting better, and just the experience that he brings to our starting pitchers is phenomenal. So people, just the intensity of the crowd or of the fan base and of the team, they bowed their chest out a little bit more. And you saw what happened. I mean, again, we went on a 7-game win streak, and then now we kind of stumbled here and there last couple games, but just what he brings to the roster is phenomenal. But I've been impressed with the relief pitcher, best relief ERA since the beginning of May, which is we saw what happened in the first 3 games against Philadelphia where they swept us. We couldn't figure out what Jacob Webb had a terrible outing. Bryce Wilson had a terrible starter. A.J. Minter had a terrible start. And again, Luke Jackson came out of nowhere to be our closer, but it's been a fun ride. We've seen the likes of Josh Donaldson resemble his 2015 MVP year, where his defense is just, excuse my French, Jordan, but stupid good. Even Brian Snitker came out and said, I've never seen I didn't know he was this good at defense wise, and it's a big surprise. So that's been fun to watch. Obviously, we've seen what Freddie Freeman can do. He's one of the best first basemen in the game. People are starting to finally take notice after being once again elected to the All-Star. But again, you mentioned a little bit about Mike Foltynewicz, and I don't know what's going on there. I think he gets into his head a little bit more than he should be. He has a couple good innings, and all of a sudden he gets hit hard or he doesn't get a call his way, and then all of a sudden you can literally see in person his entire demeanor completely change. And so something's got to give. He's another guy that we spoke to about last year here on the Broward Town Sports, that he would be great inside of the as a relief pitcher. Put him at the back end guy. All he has to do is get 3 outs. That's all we need you to do. We've seen what that does to Sean Newcomb. He's been terrific. He's been by far the long relief guy for the Atlanta Braves. And again, we saw Tukey kind of have his ups and downs as well, have a terrific 6-inning game after Kevin Gausman got thrown out that during Miami game. But we saw that kind of play out, and then all of a sudden he comes in and can't get out of his own way after giving up 3 walks and then 4 or 5 runs in 1 inning. So it's hard to imagine I think we're going to see him a little bit longer inside the minor league system. But we've seen what the moving from starting pitcher to the relief side of things has done very well for Sean Newcomb. We can see the same thing going for a Kevin Gausman. We can see the same thing going for a Mikey. So it's going to be interesting to see what that kind of plays out. I think Julio Teheran has been a fantastic, really you could say a acquisition to our starting pitcher rotation, because we haven't seen the likes of this year of Julio in quite some time. Again, he's had his hiccup, but again, who on our starting staff and our relief pitcher, who hasn't? So, but it's been fun to watch him, Julio Teheran, kind of resemble a few things when he came up in the system a few years back. But it's been a fun ride. It's been not only fun to watch, but it's fun to see how the kind of the roster is starting to play out. And we've seen the likes of Ronald Acuna continue to just be terrific in the leadoff role. Even Dansby Swanson is another guy that has been terrific this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of what it does here after the All-Star break. We obviously see that the likes of Freddie Freeman and Mike Soroka with a 1.21 ERA, the second best in the National League, what he's doing. So it's and then obviously you have Acuna at the 3 All-Stars for the Atlanta Braves. And the other thing is, we'll get into this now for the All-Star selections. We had the likes of, Josh Donaldson was right there. Dansby Swanson was right there. Ozzie Albies was right there. Max Fried in the beginning of the season, well, he's a definite All-Star. He kind of stumbled as well. Josh Donaldson, Brian McCann. So we've seen, we had a few guys on the bubble of getting into the All-Star, but again, we set the kind of a franchise record with the 3 guys that we have: Mike Soroka, Freddie Freeman, and Ronald Acuna. So that's fun to watch. What do you think about the All-Star selections committee?
I mean, every Braves fan wants as many All-Star selections as possible. Ozzie made a case for it. He went on a torrid tear in June. I think that Dansby, he made a case for it. A lot of people are a little, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit upset that he did not make it, and they're like, well, what has Paul DeYoung done, the shortstop for the Cardinals? And as far as I know, I don't think the Cardinals have any other All-Stars except for Paul DeYoung.
Every team has to have at least one.
Right, every team has to have at least one, and so, Dansby got the short end of the stick on that one. Did he deserve it? Probably so, but, that's just how it worked out. Nick Markakis, I'll be honest with you, I don't know what the infatuation was with Nick Markakis. I guess it's just props to Braves country for getting out and voting for him. I'm not real sure why he was in the top 3 for right field as far as All-Star voting. I don't think his season. If you look at his numbers from last year up to this point and this year, his numbers last year greatly are just leaps and bounds above where he was at last year.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, they're leaps and bounds above last year where they are this year. So this year he's not having as good of a season, but props to Braves country for getting out and voting for him and getting him in that top 3 consideration. And then the other one was Josh Donaldson. He went on it's about a 2-3 week period where he was hitting in that MVP form, and here we are. He's kind of hit a dead spot again, and I don't think it is the same reason for the dead spot before. Before it was just he was getting thrown so many curveballs and sliders, and he's not used to seeing all that because he's used to hitting a 2-hole, and he's now hitting behind Freddie, and so people are throwing him junk, and he's not used to hitting off all the off-speed stuff, and so he spent at least one BP before a game where he was taking nothing but batting practice swings off of the off-speed pitching machine. And so that night he went out and homered. I think he homered off a fastball, but he still went out and homered that night. And so you saw some things click for him for about 2 or 3 weeks, but still, he didn't necessarily do enough. The two that really I think I would have liked to have seen go was definitely our guys up the middle, Dansby and Ozzie. JD, kind of understand why he's not there. Markakis, I understand why he's not there. But the 2 guys up the middle, I would have loved to have seen play. And not just seen play, and those that follow this team and that watch this team on a nightly basis, that watch those 2 play together, I would love to see them play in the All-Star game together.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because I don't know of, outside of, maybe one team having a really strong second baseman or one team having a really strong shortstop, I don't know of a team that is that strong up the middle defensively, and those 2 turn some of the best double plays that you see across the major leagues. So I would have loved to have seen them play together in the All-Star game. Well, I think those 2 are the only ones that I was really not upset, but just disappointed that they didn't make it.
It's one of those things where, yes, it would have been entertaining, not only fun, but entertaining to watch, to see the outside world, should we say, from the Atlanta Braves, watch these 2 guys play. Again, just look at our roster right now, our lineup: Ron Acuna, Swanson, Freeman, Donaldson, now Riley. And I think Camargo, I don't think his days as a Atlanta Brave are fortunately about to be up, because I think we're going to be trading him. We're going to get, right after the discussion, get into the All-Star break, what's going to happen with our Braves. But Joyce is playing a great pitch hitter. He's been fantastic. He batted right now .293. Obviously, Charlie Batts has been just stupid good. I don't know. Even Brian Snicker mentioned, it's one of those things where I hate to start you because I don't want to mess you up. And so you expect him coming after the 7th inning to get a hit or a home run or whatever it is and win the game for us. But just looking at our starting lineup is just terrific, because we have Acuna made the All-Star. Swanson could have made the All-Star. Freeman did. Donaldson had. If he would have continued on his hitting streak the last week and a half before the All-Star selection, he would have been in it. Again, Nick Markakis is sitting at .275 right now, so not a bad, or average. But I see what you're saying about the really not deserving to be there. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. But it would have been fun to see what the outside world